Is Destiny 2 too hard since the Lightfall update? It depends on who you ask, but if you ask me, my answer is no. What? Generally speaking, of course, because there are a few outliers where it may be a bit overtuned, and we'll discuss those in this video. But again, generally no, Destiny 2 is not too hard after the update. Now you don't have to agree with me, and I know some of my opinions in this video may not be in agreement with your own, but I do want to give my 2 cents on this topic because I've been discussing Destiny 2's difficulty in a lot of my recent videos prior to Lightfall's release. So imagine playing Pac-Man. It's challenging, but rewarding. It feels good to win. Now imagine Pac-Man 2 comes out, and in Pac-Man 2, the power pellet is always active. You can just blitz your way through the level devouring all the ghosts, knowing you're going to win. This may feel fun at first, just wiping the board without much effort, but after the 3rd or 4th level you might be asking, is this it? There's no threat of failure, no need for strategy, and no need to even really try. That's been how Destiny 2 has felt for me over the last several years. Now I've brought up the idea of increasing Destiny 2's difficulty for years now, how I think the PvE side of the game is far too easy. Whether I was doing content on Patrol, the Strike playlist, seasonal content, or even dungeons and raids. All of it allowed me to turn my brain off almost completely. Raids and dungeons not as much, but once you know the mechanics, you just kind of coast through. And for me, when there isn't a challenge, I get bored. And not just bored, but I lose interest in the game entirely. The gameplay is no longer engaging if I'm not overcoming some kind of challenge. And this has begun to change in Destiny 2 slowly with the addition of higher difficulties like Master and Grandmaster content, but my issue with those have always been champions. I want that level of difficulty from the enemies, just minus the champions. Now I feel like with Lightfall's update, we've got that, almost. We've got the increased difficulty to the activities that I think needed it the most. Strikes, Patrol, seasonal content, etc. Now the counter argument I see a lot is more enemy health doesn't equal real difficulty, and taking more damage doesn't equal real difficulty, and in a lot of cases I agree. It can be overdone and overtuned, but I really don't think this Lightfall change has overtuned it for most of the base content, except for maybe this week's Mars Battleground Nightfall. You know, that shit is kinda hard right now. But even still, I think it's okay if some weeks the Nightfall is something completely nuts. We had Nightfalls like these in D1 that stood out as really tough, like the big outliers. Arcburn Light Switch Omnigul, or Solar Burn Grounded Shield Brothers. Those Nightfalls were damn near impossible. If you know, you know. Those were the weeks that I pushed through just on one character, for hours with my friends, and didn't bother with other characters because it was so difficult. But Destiny 2 still isn't quite that difficult. D1's base difficulty is still a step above D2's. Because right now, post Lightfall, if you have even a super basic build, you can still slay almost as good as before. And the only difference is you need to take advantage of all the tools in your arsenal a bit better now. Step up your own gameplay. You know, if you're shooting a group of harpies on Neomuna with your auto rifle and saying, it's too hard now, they're all bullet sponges, start thinking a bit more about how to approach the fight. Learn how to use more of your tools, maybe your special or your grenade or abilities. Look at ways to make a build in a way that helps deal damage with the new challenge. If you spend a little bit of time strategizing, even just a little bit, it really isn't that bad. Because I think a large portion of the players complaining about the difficulty right now, for things like Patrol or the Strike playlist at least, these are the players who are used to just shooting everything with a primary weapon for every single encounter. And prior to Lightfall, you could do just that and be totally fine. Just use a funnel web and kill every single enemy including majors in one magazine or less, and the enemy bullets would barely hurt. Now with this recent update, maybe you need to employ some new strategies for the fight, and I really don't think that's a bad thing. For me, it's made me more engaged with the combat experience, like for instance, the Defiance Battlegrounds. They aren't amazing content, but they can be pretty tough, and there's a lot of ways you can die between enemy density being so high, lots of snipers on the ledges, and paying attention to your safeguard buff is now super important, or else you're going to get caught outside just getting shredded. And with the increased challenge, it makes all of those obstacles inside those battlegrounds more fun to overcome, for me at least. And if we're dealing with the pre-Seraph level difficulty for seasonal content, I would find Defiance Battlegrounds to be another boring and repetitive activity, which, let's be honest, it won't take long till it grows old like all seasonal content. I'm already starting to feel the effects of it now. But at least it'll hold my attention a little bit longer because the combat experience itself is more engaging. And the same thing goes for Neomuna and the Terminal Overload event. I like that it's kind of brutal. It's not as challenging or as good as Escalation Protocol, but it's similar, and that's a good thing. Legendary campaign difficulty felt perfect to me as well, at least the solo experience. And the Strike playlist is finally a little bit better. I would actually like to see it be a little tougher, but what it is right now is improved over what it used to be. You can actually die in that playlist now. But there is a case to be made for Legendary Lost Sectors and other Legend or Master content that some of it is overtuned. Currently at 1830 power, Legend content locks you at minus 15 power level, which is especially painful in Lost Sectors right now when you combine the tedium of fighting champions in an environment where you're this underleveled, and it can reach levels of annoyance, and makes these Lost Sectors no longer a place to effectively farm exotics because the difficulty doesn't quite justify the reward. They're not impossible, they're just less fun and more annoying and take longer. Now, two things could be done in the case of Lost Sectors: increase exotic drop rates or even guarantee them, or keep the power level handicap but get rid of champions. Now, this might be a controversial take, but I think Bungie ought to move towards phasing out champions entirely from the game. I don't know anyone who actually likes playing against them. They're more annoying than anything to mostly everybody, but everyone seems to like the legendary campaign difficulty. It's actually challenging, and the best thing about it is, there's no champions. I want to see a world where that becomes a reality across the entire game. No champions, just legendary campaign difficulty everywhere. The other areas that feel a bit overtuned are things like legendary Dares of Eternity and high-level Nightfalls. But again, only for one reason really. It's the champions. Just like the legendary Lost Sectors, this is what makes these difficulties tedious and annoying. I don't think the basic enemies are too spongy or too difficult to fight right now. It really is just these abominations. While I was on Europa to do the Lost Sector yesterday, I spent a few minutes just killing enemies in patrol. And I gotta say, this is not fun. This is boring. The enemies die so quick, there's no challenge, there's no threat of failure, and this level of difficulty is just putting the game on easy mode. And this is what we've had for years in most content. But Neomuna right now is way more engaging to fight enemies on. They hit harder, there's more of them, they have higher health, and it means you have to try a little bit. It's still patrol content, so it's not insane, of course, but it feels good. As much as I don't like Neomuna itself, it's probably the most fun I've had on patrol since Destiny 1. I don't want to see Bungie revert the base level difficulty backwards, because if it gets any easier than it is right now, I just check out mentally.
If a game is too easy or doesn't present an adequate challenge, oftentimes that accomplishment of beating it can mean little more than an extra 75 points for your gamer score. I really only speak for myself in this, but I can play a game that doesn't have the best graphics, I can play a game or a section that has bad controls, something that's old as shit, but I cannot play a game that doesn't challenge me. That's what I need above all else.
Now, dungeon and raid content have been unchanged. Master saw some changes that'll make it more in line with the day 1 raid difficulty, but the base level difficulty did not see any increase in challenge. Now, raids and dungeons being easy is something I've talked about in previous videos when I've discussed this topic, so I wanted to touch on this. I think that the base level for raids and dungeons probably don't need any tweaks as much as I personally would like them to, but if they stay the same, I think that's fine, and it allows for casuals to experience this content. However, I agree with Bungie's idea of making Master more in line with day 1 raid difficulty, the contest difficulty, essentially, which they've already done. But one important change should also come along with that idea. No champions. Champions do not belong in raid or dungeon content. Master should basically just be hard mode from Destiny 1 raids, just increased challenge for increased chances at rewards. Maybe the exotic drop rate is increased on Master, or double drop rates, or something. Give us a reason to play Master content and make it difficult, but champions gotta go, because they're the least fun version of difficulty in the game right now. Now, like I said, I didn't expect a lot of you to agree with me on my thoughts about Destiny 2's difficulty. I think it's in a better place than it has been in quite a while, but if you're still here listening at this point in the video, thanks for hearing me out at the very least, and let me know your thoughts on the increased difficulty in the comments section. Thanks for watching, I'll see you all in the next one.